Hey there. If you've been researching the Greensboro area and you keep seeing the names Summerfield and Oak Ridge come up, there's a reason for that. These two communities sit in the northern part of Guilford County, just outside of Greensboro, and they've quietly developed a reputation as some of the most desirable places to live at in the entire Piedmont Triad. Families here specifically move for them. Many people who've lived in Greensboro for years eventually make their way up there for multiple reasons. And relocation clients who do their homework almost always end up with these communities on their short list. But here's the thing, there isn't a lot of detailed, honest content about what it's actually like to live in there in either Summerfield or Oak Ridge, so we're going to talk about it today. Most of what you'll find is pretty surface level, so let's dig in a little bit deeper. Hey there, my name is Melody Davis. I'm a real estate agent serving the Greensboro area, and I work in Greensboro, but also work in Summerfield and Oak Ridge. I know these communities very well, including the schools, the lifestyle, the trade-offs, and the things that don't show up in a Google search necessarily. I've lived in Greensboro for 30 years. 6 of those were spent actually in Summerfield, and would love to tell you all about the great things about these Northwest Guilford County areas. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear and honest picture of both communities, what makes them appealing, what they lack, and how they compare to each other, and whether they're the right fit for you. So let's get into it. Before we get into the details, however, let me orient you geographically because understanding where these communities sit relative to everything else is very important. Summerfield and Oak Ridge are both located in northern Guilford County. They sit north of Greensboro proper, generally accessible by Highway 220 North, the bypass, and several connecting back roads if you prefer a more scenic drive. They're communities with distinct identities, established, but they function within the broader Guilford County framework for services like schools and public utilities and even county government. Summerfield sits closer to Greensboro and is generally considered the more accessible of the two in terms of commute time to the city. And here's a fun fact. Some homes in Summerfield actually have a Greensboro address, which can be a little confusing for those relocating here. Summerfield is an extension of Greensboro, so to speak, and it has grown tremendously the past 20 years. Oak Ridge also has grown and is positioned further north and west, closer to the Forsyth County line, which means residents there are also within a reasonable driving distance to Winston-Salem. That geographic positioning is actually one of the underappreciated advantages of living in either community. You're close enough to Greensboro to access jobs and restaurants and healthcare and amenities without being in the middle of the city. And depending on where you live in Oak Ridge, Winston-Salem is also a very easy commute. In terms of driving times, from Summerfield to downtown Greensboro is generally around 20 to 30 minutes depending on traffic and your specific starting point. Oak Ridge to Greensboro runs similarly, with some areas trending a little bit longer. Neither community is what you would describe as remote, but they're far enough out that their character feels distinctively different than Greensboro. If you're coming from a city environment and you expect to be able to walk to coffee shops and restaurants, retail, that's really not what you'll find there. We do have those in Summerfield and Oak Ridge, but they're in small shopping centers, mostly by families who also live in the community and support the community. Additionally, these communities are defined by residential living, open spaces, and deliberate separation from the pace and density of Greensboro. For the people who choose them, that's exactly what they want. So let's talk about the character and feel of each. Summerfield and Oak Ridge are often mentioned in the same breath, and they do share a lot of common qualities, but they also have distinct personalities that are worth understanding. Summerfield has a feel of community that has grown thoughtfully. It has a mix of established neighborhoods and newer developments, and the overall aesthetic leans towards spacious residential living with a strong sense of pride of ownership. The lots there tend to be a little bit more generous. You'll see well-maintained properties, mature landscaping in older sections, and a constant level of care across the community that reflects the demographic it attracts. Summerfield has a community identity that residents take very seriously. Their local events, a genuine sense of neighbors, knowing neighbors, and an atmosphere that feels more like a small town than a suburb or a medium-sized city. That's by design and by the values of the people who choose to live there. The commercial presence in Summerfield is actually limited by choice. Residents of Summerfield continue to vote that it stays underdeveloped, believe it or not. They don't want it to become a larger town like Greensboro. There are places to shop like CVS and Walgreens and Martin's Mercantile, which is one of my favorites. But it's not a community defined by retail. So you have local restaurants like Subway, Papa John's, and Luigi's Italian, but no chain types like Chick-fil-A. So residents who want more extensive dining and shopping and entertaining options make the short drive into Greensboro. Most residents consider that a feature of living there rather than an inconvenience. And don't be surprised by the active biking community you will see around Summerfield. Because of the rural feel and flat roads, Summerfield is known and loved by those wanting to hop on a road bike and take a ride. Oftentimes, you'll actually see packs of 10 to 20 or more cyclists riding together at one time. Oak Ridge has a similar ethos, but with a slightly different texture. It's known for a more rural feel in parts, larger lot sizes in many neighborhoods, and a community that values space and a quieter pace of life. It's a bit more commercialized now and welcomes both family-owned restaurants like Rio Grande, Bistro 150, and Bill's Pizza, and fast food chains like Wendy's and Bojangles. So you have a bit more dining choices in the town itself. For a refined suburb, Oak Ridge in many areas feels closer to true small town living, with the space and greenery to match. Oak Ridge has its own community identity, including community events and a local atmosphere that residents consistently describe as welcoming and grounded. The Oak Ridge Community Park and recreational facilities are fantastic and reflect the community's investment in quality of life for the residents, and brings together residents often for things like outdoor concerts and festivals, which are a lot of fun. Oak Ridge is also home to Oak Ridge Military Academy, which you may have heard of. It's a private college preparatory institution with a significant history and distinct presence in the community. It's not directly relevant to most families' public schools decisions, but it's part of the local community and worth knowing. One nuance worth naming, Oak Ridge's position closer to Forsyth County line actually means some residents find Winston-Salem as accessible as Greensboro for work, shopping, and general amenities. If you're working in the Winston-Salem area, Oak Ridge can be an attractive place to live that gives you access actually to both markets. Here's what they share. Both communities attract a similar demographic. Families with children who prioritize their schools, their spaces, community, professionals who want a quieter home environment with reasonable access to the city, and buyers who've done the research and made a deliberate choice to be here rather than something a bit bigger and more urban. The lifestyle in both communities is unhurried without being sleepy. There's an active community life, but it's rooted in things like youth sports, community events, neighborhood gatherings, and outdoor activities rather than nightlife or other urban things you can do in Greensboro. That's the lifestyle these communities are built for, and the people who thrive here are the ones who want exactly that. So let's talk about schools. Schools are one of the most common reasons people specifically seek out Summerfield and Oak Ridge. So let me give you a thorough and honest picture. Both communities are served by Guilford County Schools, which is the public school district for Guilford County. A note on how I'm discussing schools. School ratings and performance data change over time, of course. So before you make any decisions based on school quality, I strongly encourage you to verify school information directly from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, greatschools.org, or by contacting Guilford County Schools directly to get more information. What I can speak to is the general reputation these schools have developed over time and the reason families consistently seek out this corridor for their kids' education. Elementary school. Let's talk about that first. The elementary schools serving this area have generally maintained stronger reputations within the district. Families consistently report positive experiences with teacher quality and school culture and academic programming. Summerfield offers Summerfield Elementary and Northern Elementary, while Oak Ridge just has one elementary school at this time, and it's called Oak Ridge Elementary. These are schools where parental involvement tends to be very high, which consistently correlates with strong school communities. Regarding middle schools, the middle school transition is one parents in any community pay close attention to. The schools serving this corridor have generally held their standing within the district at the middle school level, though as with any school system, individual experiences vary, of course. And I encourage you to visit and ask questions before drawing conclusions. Students can attend Northern Middle in Summerfield and Northwest Middle in Oak Ridge. So let's talk about high schools. Both areas offer great high schools, as you have Northern Guilford servicing Summerfield students and Northwest High servicing Oak Ridge. However, there are a few caveats. Summerfield is widespread geographically, and some Summerfield students are actually in the Northwest District. So it's important when thinking of relocating to choose an option of either town based on your research. We also have charter and private options that service both communities. For families who want to explore options beyond traditional district schools, there are charter schools like Summerfield Charter and Revolution Academy. Families should research current availability, application processes, and lottery timelines, as these vary and do change. But of course, we still have private school options like Greensboro Academy and Caldwell Academy in Northwest Greensboro. They're of course both accessible to Summerfield and Oak Ridge, and they both have great reputation. Families who have prioritized education in their relocation decision consistently find this area delivers. That said, I always encourage you to do current research rather than just relying on reputation, because school quality is dynamic and your specific child's experience is what matters most. So next, let's talk about real estate in the housing market. I'm going to walk you through what the housing market actually looks like in these communities, because it has some specific characteristics worth understanding. Summerfield and Oak Ridge both offer a mix of housing types, but the dominant form is single-family homes on larger lots, and pricing is usually significantly higher for the most part than in Greensboro. And many build luxury homes in Summerfield and Oak Ridge, so seeing multi-million-dollar homes is standard in these two areas, which is surprising to some that are relocating. If you want a detached home with yard space and privacy and room to breathe, these are probably two areas you should consider. Housing types range from well-established homes in older neighborhoods that were developed over the past decades to newer construction in more recently developed communities like Burkhaven, Pemberley, and now Manderley. We have a lot of amazing builders here locally like Wolf Homes, Gingrich Homes, and more that we can also discuss if you're pondering building your own home. Although I warn you, we don't have a lot of land left in Summerfield or Oak Ridge because they've been so popular. The older established neighborhoods like Lenox Woods and Henson Farms often have more mature landscaping and larger trees, giving them a character that new construction can't touch. New construction, however, offers modern floor plans, updated systems, and builder warranties, which is a bonus if you don't want to worry about home maintenance for a while. Lot sizes in this area are generally larger than what you'd find closer to the city. It's not uncommon to find properties with half an acre, or more, particularly in the older sections of both communities. That's a meaningful differentiator for buyers who want genuine outdoor space. And we do have even estates with very large homes of 10,000 square feet or more, which are kind of fun to look at. So what about price ranges? Be careful here about citing specific numbers because the market changes and I don't want anything in this video to be outdated by the time you're watching it. What I can tell you, however, is that Summerfield and Oak Ridge generally command a premium relative to comparable homes closer to the urban core of Greensboro, and that premium is driven primarily by the school district reputation and lifestyle these communities offer. If you want current specific pricing information for these communities, I'm happy to help you. Just reach out. Contact me directly. The link in the description will get you to me, and I can give you a real-time picture of what the market looks like right now. What I can say generally, however, is Summerfield and Oak Ridge are not the most affordable entry points into the Greensboro market. Buyers who choose Summerfield and Oak Ridge are typically making a deliberate investment in a specific lifestyle and school environment, and the pricing definitely reflects that demand. So, homes in a desired neighborhood within these communities tend to move relatively well when they're properly priced and presented. Demand from families who have been specifically targeting this area keep the market reasonably active. As with any market condition, pricing and presentation absolutely matter. For buyers, competition for well-positioned homes in these communities can be real, particularly in the spring and summer when families are trying to get settled before the new school year. Being prepared with your financing in order and having a clear sense of your priorities before you start actively searching will save you time and energy later. We also have a shortage of home availability here in Guilford County due to so many relocating. So pricing holds very strong right now, with most houses selling at about 97 to 98% of their listing price, which is also surprising to a lot of out-of-town buyers. So oftentimes buyers will start at one price range, then move to another one. Okay, so let's talk about lifestyle and daily life there. Let me give you a genuine picture of what day-to-day life actually looks like in Summerfield and Oak Ridge, because this is where the rubber meets the road for a lot of people. The pace here is intentional and unhurried. Morning routines involve school drop-offs on roads with relatively manageable traffic, neighbors waving as they walk their dogs, and a general absence of the friction, which is preferred by a lot of people. People who have been living in dense urban environments and are ready for something different, this shift can actually feel immediately restorative. If you're someone that draws energy from the constant stimulation of the city, the adjustment is a little bit more significant for you. Also, I like to say again what I said earlier, knowing which camp you're in before you move is extremely important. So most residents who work in Greensboro are looking at a commute that's generally around 20 to 35 minutes, depending on their specific destination and the time of day, of course. The routes into the city are primarily surface roads rather than interstate, which means the commute experience is relatively predictable without the variability that comes from highway congestion. However, we do now have several bypasses around both areas, which does help cut down on those commute times. Remote workers, who represent a growing segment of the buyer pool in this area, largely eliminate the commute equation entirely, which is nice. For those buyers, the lifestyle and school advantages of this corridor are available without any commute penalty, which means the value proposition is particularly strong for them. We also have amazing recreational and outdoor life here. Both communities have parks and greenways and outdoor recreational spaces. The natural environment in northern Guilford County is beautiful, as we have a lot of gorgeous spaces to enjoy, whether by yourself if you're walking, or parks to visit with friends. For families with young children, youth sports and recreational programming are active parts of our community life. Soccer, baseball, tennis, and other youth sports have strong participation rates in this area, and also have travel ball teams as well for those that seek a more progressive sports team for your kids. Hunting and fishing are also accessible to residents who enjoy those activities, with private land opportunities and public access points within reasonable distances. But let's talk again about dining and shopping. This is the area where I want to be the most straightforward. Summerfield and Oak Ridge are not destinations for dining and retail. These communities have basic conveniences and there's some local options, but the primary dining and shopping experience for residents involves driving into Greensboro, or for Oak Ridge residents into Winston-Salem. For most people here, this is an acceptable trade-off. The drive into Greensboro for dinner out or shopping is a short one, and the exchange of urban convenience for the lifestyle these communities offer is deliberately chosen a lot of times. For buyers coming from markets where walkability and dining density are part of our daily life, this is a meaningful adjustment to understand before you commit. It's a reality of what these communities are and what they prioritize. Most communities have active lifestyles built around local events and school activities, neighborhood gatherings, and organized recreation. The social fabric here is genuine and it develops over time. Residents consistently describe these communities where people know their neighbors, look out for each other, and invest in places where they live. This kind of community doesn't develop overnight, however. But for buyers who are planning routes and thinking in terms of years and decades rather than a short-term stay, it's one of the most valuable things either community will offer. Between Summerfield and Oak Ridge, how do you choose? If you've narrowed down your search in this corridor and you're trying to decide between Summerfield and Oak Ridge specifically, here's how I think about it. I want you to choose Summerfield if you feel you want slightly more proximity to Greensboro and a shorter commute. Summerfield's position closer to Greensboro city limits makes it a more convenient choice for buyers who primarily work, socialize, and their lifestyle connections are in Greensboro. So how do you choose between Summerfield and Oak Ridge? If you've narrowed your search down to this corridor and you're trying to decide between the two, here's how I'd think about it. I want you to think about Summerfield more if you want slightly more proximity to Greensboro and a shorter commute into downtown. Summerfield's position closer to Greensboro city limits makes it a little bit more convenient of a choice for buyers who primarily work, socialize, and have lifestyle connections, which are based in Greensboro. So to recap, Summerfield and Oak Ridge are communities that reward people who do their homework. They're not for everyone, and they're not trying to be. But for the right buyer, whether that's a family prioritizing schools or looking for space and quality of life, or someone who's simply ready for a different pace, they consistently deliver. If you're considering a move to this area and you want someone who knows these communities in detail and will give you a straight answer about whether they're the right fit for you, I'd love to have that conversation with you. If you find this video useful, subscribe. I put out regular content in the Greensboro area market, home preparation strategies, and everything that goes into making a smart real estate decision for buyers or sellers. I'll see you in the next one.